So we're up at Barracuda Sales about 2 weeks ago. Neil had designed our sails, which is just amazing. And he uses a software program called ProSail. Obviously, it's designed for making molded and curved sails to get the right shape. And it's amazing technology. And he showed us our design. And I said, there's only 6 battens on that. And he said,
6. We're actually going to confirm this is good you're here.
And I said, no, I'm sure we ordered 7. He goes, no, I'm sure it's only 6. I've actually got a photo of it.
Hey. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Lo and behold, there was only 6 cars there. About a week and a half later, I get an email from Ronstan. The 7th car was absolutely wrapped that he hadn't sent the design off to the sail cutters to actually print the sails onto the cloth. So luckily, we'd only just salvaged this deal by getting this extra one arrived in the mail the next day, and I've got to now go and fit that on the mast. But luckily, we were able to salvage it, and he's got our boom bag made with all the screen printing on it. We're so happy about that. The sails are obviously at the cutters right now, and we have a beautiful big main, and it has 7 cars in it. Now we chose not to have intermediate cars so that the boom bag wouldn't stack up so high, so we wouldn't end up with a huge stack. And he was dead right, because I only had 6 cars. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cars and the head car. And this guy here was on back order from, I guess, the Netherlands. And now I've got to fit it, and they're pretty simple to fit. They've just got a pretty basic setup. I wish I'd done it before I put the bloody mast on, but anyway, you just lift these up. And there's a section here that has to be removed prior to sliding the next one on. So I'm going to have to hold that up while I undo all those. Hopefully I won't lose the screws, and slide the next car on and put it all back together again. But yeah, trap for young players. Always check your orders when they come in, because obviously I didn't count the amount of cars and just whacked them on and assumed it was going to be good. Good job it wasn't 5 or 4, I would have been in big trouble. And the beauty of these encapsulated ball cars is that the Torlon's trapped within these slide rods, so even when you take it off, the balls aren't going to go all over your deck, because I've had experience of that once before, and the last thing you want to do is have that happen. So I'm going to try to do this one-handed. It's going to be a bit of a challenge. I probably should have had Janet here when I was doing this, but anyway, we're going to get it done regardless. Shit! Upside down, never changes. Just never ends. How is it?
That's good now.
Yeah, it's cleaned out a bit, isn't it?
Apparently spotted, like, you know, magic moment?
Yeah.
I think it's quite deep on that side of it too now.
Yeah, okay.
Borderline which side of it it goes. And that grey boat, it almost goes that side of it.
Yeah, I went through there in a tender yesterday, and it's funny, it looks like it's deep right on the very edge, just near the green marker.
Yeah.
But it's actually pretty shallow, so my tender bottomed out in 3 foot. You're lucky, you almost had to be here about 2 minutes ago. The piece here where I'm adding my cars fell out, and I was standing there holding all of this shit in place.
I could have jumped up for you.
And it fell down there. And I'm standing there, I'm thinking, what am I going to do? I have no idea what I'm going to do. So I jammed a screwdriver in the track. Honestly, if it had come down, it would have gone, I would have had like $5,000 worth of cars. What a nightmare. But anyway, so I've just put it on, but I thought I shouldn't be doing this on my own. No, I'm done now. I'm good. Luckily the screwdriver stopped all the cars coming down for the 20 seconds it took me to pick up the bit of rail down here.
Even just maintaining them, the number of times you're like during something, like trying to jam something in to hold something.
Yeah, yeah, I can feel it. I have too. I've come up to load up the final skip. Hey mate, why did you show up?
Back again.
He was just saying how he loves hanging out.
I just need to work on my muscles.
He's just come back from a bit of a holiday in Croatia, bike riding, and come back to this. I know where I'd rather be.
Interesting stuff.
There's nothing interesting because you're just having fun, aren't you? Fishing stuff in exotic places. Well, that was the most painless morning, or as painless as it could possibly be. We're loaded up here, pretty much. Just got a little bit of cleaning up to do here. Cut up this targa, cut up this kayak mould. It's going to the tip. The other one at the back there, the local guy, Dane, who bought our business office, actually is interested in another fleet of kayaks. So I could well be redoing that one very soon. And then I'm just going to get in here and weed whack the whole joint. Get up here and slash this whole area and give it a really super good clean up, and what a relief to get that done. So happy to get that done. I know I've laboriously videoed these events, but this is what it takes to build a boat, and that was another whole morning of effort to get that in there, and I'm surprised how little there is in there, to be honest. Still got a fair bit to go, but you know, that has broken the back of a monster job. Heaps of thanks to Daz, because without him, he just showed up. We were having dinner last night together, and I just so happened to mention that I was getting a skip, and he showed up on time. Couldn't believe it. Didn't even expect him. He had other plans, and came down and gave me a hand. He's been instrumental in the last 3 or 4 months with this whole build. Has been fantastic to get this done. Anyway, say sayonara to the mould, and that'll be the end of that saga. So while you've got a skip, you may as well get rid of as much as you can, and basically getting down to the nitty gritty here. I'm down to all my sort of 20-30 year old kayak moulds that are no longer relevant or saleable. This one here was a TK1, which was probably held up in the Olympics back in around about 1996, 2000. I've just cut it up. That mould there I've had for about 20 years, and there's a boat there that we never quite got finished. It was one I'd made for Ellen back in the day when she was a teenager. I thought she might have got into racing, but never did. Cut it up. So sad. But the big double up there I'll probably still use this year. I've still got some work to do on that, and it's still relevant. But these ones here got to go, sadly. And you know, you cut up moulds like this and you think how much work went into making these plugs. And anyway, it's a good clean up for me because I'm almost done. I've just got to have to whippersnip all this down, and we'll get on with that. But for now, I'll just cut this one up, get it in a skip. Yeah, 5 hours later. Oh man, I'm down to old kayaks. This big yellow thing here, this was given to me 21 years ago to use as a sign for Quality Kayaks, which we were one of their dealers here in Australia, pretty big dealer. Used to do about 15 of those a week. It was only ever a sign because it's a faulty blow. It was actually a rotationally moulded boat, but it's actually faulty. Got an old Megatron deck here, which yeah, basically didn't pass the mustard. The lines weren't great. It was one of the first striped boats I made. Got some old plugs here that are going to go away, and some plugs all going in the tip. Hate doing this stuff, but certainly a good feeling because my shed down where I kept all this stuff is now empty. And have a look at all the templates. I mean, every one of these represents days and days of work. Bulkhead templates, just incredible parts of the boat that are all, you know, just totally irrelevant now because our boats are one-off now. I would have given these gladly to anyone that had taken the moulds, and Christ, I wish I had taken them now. I'm in a month of work getting rid of all this shit, and you know, this is luckily yesterday Darren gave me 2 solid hours and we got the bulk of it away, and now I'm inside trying to clean up. I've got, you know, this 180 square metre shed that I've got to clean up and you know, get on with making kayaks again. I've got a fleet to make for young Dane, the Sea Kayak Jervis Bay, who bought our business office years and years ago, and then I've got to pull this mezzanine down. So that's that whole area there is going to form part of our house. I put it up with self-tapping screws so that I knew I could reuse it or resell it or whatever, but it's all structural grade treated pine, so it'll do well for a pergola or whatever you want to call them, and it's going to form part of our outdoor deck if I can get all the shit out of it. Anyway, lots more to do, my God. When Sam said to me, if you die and leave me with all this shit, I'm going to kill you, well, he wasn't far wrong. I think he's going to kill me anyway. This has almost killed me today. I've been here for like 5 hours on my own, just struggling away with all the bits, and yeah, we're getting down to some pretty neat and not a lot of refuse after all this is gone. So this has been my focus. That last piece of plywood there is going to form roof linings. I've got a tender mould there that I can use to fashion our tender. And I've got a couple of big flat sheets here, which I might need to just do a bit of work with later on. A few kayaks left in the stock here. Still got about 7 or 8 of these bloody seawoods, which I don't think I'm ever going to be able to sell. They just won't sell. And then we'll get down to our mega surf kayak molds. I'm not really sure what I'm going to do with them. Probably tragically have to cut them up. There's no one here in Australia that'll take them on, particularly with the arrangement with Malcolm, who was the designer. And I just made them here, and I've still got a few to sell here, and still got about 7 or 8 holes up there and decks to deal with. So that'll be my next focus, is getting all that crap packed away and see where I can leave myself then. Day 3 of the skip saga. Wow, that was epic. Back here, the staircase from hell that I had at the boat for years is now gone. There's some crappy old kayaks here, but yeah, we're basically down to just clean up and getting stuff moved with pallets, and then we can start to rejig. I'm going to come in and give the place a good clean up. The trusty crane that has been part of my life for 8 years now, it's going to go. I don't know how I'm going to get rid of it, because I'm going to have to try to get my steel scope guy to come and pick it up. Hopefully he can drag it up, but we've got to get those friggin' big wheels of it somehow before we do that. We wouldn't want those toppling on the road, because they're about 150 kilos each. And then there's an old surf kayak mould here that my mate Malcolm designed, and I had this one made in the UK, air freighted out here, polished that to a mirror finish, and then it's been part of a rotational moulded system. It's obsolete. It's got to go to the scrappy as well. So there's a lot here that can go, and that is a massive component of my life now done with. Well, I can move on to the inside of the factory. I've cleaned out pretty much half of that. Let's say goodbye to this heap of shit. And that has taken some effort. That was about a week to cut it up, and another 3 days to fill it. So old Samo down the road here has been really good. Gave me a good deal on this one, given it was my 3rd one in a row. Say goodbye to the mould. I'm going to get it picked up in the morning, and that'll be another massive milestone ticked off in the saga of life on the hulls. Goodbye. So we come down here to work, and all the locals are pissing off because it's that time of year. It's actually election day here, so pretty big day here. Beautiful day though, isn't it? And what's happening?
Yeah. And some friends are leaving on their boat today, which is in and Alana. You can hear them logging on now. Yep. They're heading to Hole in a Wall and up to Sydney tomorrow, and they're gone for up to 5 months. I'm very envious.
Yeah, and they're not bringing the boat back.
Well, they don't know. They don't know.
So yeah, we just live vicariously through everybody else's adventures, and hopefully this time next year it'll be us. That'd be good, wouldn't it?
It was earlier, actually.
Yeah, earlier. So these guys are on one of the original Seawind 1160s from Wollongong, and Wollongong is where Seawind started, and they're about an hour north of us, so it's sort of like the Seawind heart, this area here. We've got a lot of Seawinds around this area, particularly around Sydney and around Jervis Bay area. I think we've got 8 or 9 of them in the creek at the moment. Yeah, we said hello to them this morning as they were getting ready to go. They're going to Queensland, and then they're probably going to hard stand the boat rather than bring it back during the cyclone season and then go back to it next year. Then they're heading off on a dive holiday or something, but it's so nice to see people actually heading off. They've just had quite a bit of electrical work done, upgrade to lithium, their 240 volt system upgraded, and they've put teak flooring down on their back deck, which we are considering. However, I'm pretty happy with the white. It's nice and cool, and it's easy to clean. That's one of the things I really like about the gel coat finish. It's just basically a wash off, and that's it. Here he comes down the creek, looking good. We're going to live vicariously through these guys' life.
You got your dive gear with you?
Yes.
Brilliant.
Have an awesome trip, guys. See you, Lana. Have a good one. Safe trip. Nice. What a great feeling that is. Look at that engine's running beautiful now. Much quieter. So we think Ian had some mussels in his intake the other day, so it's, obviously it was telling Janet this morning some mussels in the intake, and that's not a good scene around here because we do get the odd bit of spat in our intake, so we've got to keep them clean, make sure we run the engines regularly, make sure we spit everything out, and clean your strainers a lot. That's the key. There isn't any rubbish in the water here, so to speak. We have strainers on the outside of the boat as well as on the inside, so we've got plenty of opportunity to catch whatever comes in. The only thing I sort of probably thought about was have the strainer so that I can remount the through hole a lot easier. I can undo it without too much trouble and clean it out, but one of those things in a creek like this where we've got a lot of microbial sort of life and a lot of microorganisms growing, particularly mussels, you do need to keep an eye on those intakes. We've just endured 3 East Coast lows in 3 weeks. That's 1 a week, and wow, the swells have just been enormous, and our water's absolutely black. And this is normally crystal clear, but we have had so much rain. We're talking 10 inches of rain over the last couple of weeks, and that has been, you know, pretty detrimental to my workflow, I have to say. But yeah, just to show you what I've been doing, I've got the traveller track. All the holes were epoxy cord, and then I've glued an aluminium plate all the way along here, and then I've come in and sanded around the margins, and I've actually laminated 2 layers of 600 double bias on it, which I'll now gel coat this with white gel coat, and then I'm going to texture it so that we hide this freaking mess that I've got here. But it looks pretty good. I mean, to be honest, you know, that's going to ultimately have 30 bolts coming through with dome nuts on them, and that'll actually support the whole traveller mechanism. So that's a really good win, and I've been able to, you know, get it done pretty easily down here on the boat. Sanding this was no fun, but particularly catching all the dust as well. We vacuumed and tried to catch it all, but yeah, that's looking pretty good. And I did this about 2 hours ago, and it's already gone off. Once it's had a light sand, I can just basically roll some gel coat onto it and then do the texture that I like, and that'll give it a really nice finish and finish it off, and it'll be sort of, you know, congruent with everything else on the boat here. Heaps of fuel. I don't know what's going on with this motor. Seriously, since lunchtime we've been trying to start it. Obviously got a bit of a fuel dilemma. Bastard! I got blisters on my hands from rowing the mongrel, but at least it's got oars on it, and now the tide's raging out. I have to go that way about 3 kilometres, and that's going to be a long row if I want to get home for dinner. So I might even just stay the night on the boat. I mean, why wouldn't you? Except for the fact we don't have a toilet, but you know, I'll just have a pee over the side and I'm good. So Janet's been down in the forward port cabin polishing the fiberglass walls, the gel coat walls, and they look great. Once they're done forever. And essentially we haven't had to touch any of this area here since we basically finished the boat. So once we've polished up, wet sanded and gone through to the cutting creams and then into the fine polish, it absolutely cleans it up and it never has to be touched again. The other thing that I've been doing, which I haven't been filming because it's been pretty laborious work, is getting all of the mast wiring, which is coming through that top conduit there near the inverter. And I've been wiring up the radar and labeling everything just so I know what's going on. I've got anchor lights, radar lights, navigation lights, mast wire here. So the good thing is that most of the navigation lights are actually sitting here on the main console here. So we've got nav lights, anchor lights, and we also have a deck floodlight. And I've also put in a spotlight up on the Seagull Striker. So that's really been a good win to get all of that stuff wired up. I mean, I'm not great with wiring, but once I follow the process, we can get it done quite easily, and it's so good to get it done. Well, that mast wiring had to come in via that conduit there and down that wall. And I've been able to sort of secret it all the way along through here and then tie it into my other wiring. So yeah, looks a bit of a mess at the moment, but I have got a lot going on. I'm trying to wire up the camera right now to get the mast camera all wired up, and I went and saw Neil the other day about the sails, and the sails are going to still be 2 or 3 weeks, so at least 2 or 3 weeks. So I've still got a little bit of time to get all the deck fittings, all the hardware on, all the turning blocks and the Traveller and everything. But I'm working on the Traveller now. I want to get that Traveller track in place, and then the Traveller's fitted, and then basically once the Traveller's on, I can hook up the boom and at least have all the running rigging done so that when the sails arrive, we can go sailing. But I've got to fix my outboard first. I'm not really sure what that is. I think it's a carburetor problem. If I can get it home tonight, I'm going to pull the carby off it, and I'll give it a clean, give it an ultrasonic clean, and we'll go again. A couple of days ago, Janet and I were down on the boat here, voting day here in Australia. So at about 2 o'clock, we thought we better go and vote. And the great thing is we can sort of go about half a K down the river here to a dock that is 100 metres from a polling booth. So we were able to go to the boat for the day, work on the boat. Theoretically, we were able to go down and vote. Now, when we got in the tender, I couldn't start the motor. It went on for about an hour. I came back and did some more work. Thought I'd flooded the carburetor. Got in there yanking on the pull cord. You know, it's not electric ignition. It's actually a pull cord ignition. And honestly, nearly gave myself a heart attack. I had chest pains. It was all happening. I was getting a bit stressed. I'm thinking, if we don't vote, we're going to cop a fine, because it is compulsory voting here in Australia, which I think is a good thing. However, we decided to row down to the wharf, which was cool. We rowed down and we rode the outgoing tide down to the wharf. We went up and did our vote as quickly as we could, came back to the boat. I actually rowed the boat back to the Cat, and Janet walked home, which is about probably a 3 kilometre walk, I guess. So she gets home, I ring her, I say I'm back on the boat safe, because I had to paddle against the tide, I had to row against the tide. I get back onto the boat and I do another 6 hours work. So at about 8 o'clock I decide to give it another crack. So I get in the boat in the dark, I'm pulling the ripcord to no avail. It wasn't going to start. So rather than spend the night on the boat here, I mean, I had food, had warm clothes, had everything, but I wanted to get home because I had some things I needed to do. So I decided to row home, and rowing home is about a 3 kilometre paddle, or row, right up the river there. You know, basically up under that mountain over there is where we live. I rowed home. It took me an hour and a half to row home. It's actually really super pleasant. And the stars, honestly, we live in a pretty sort of a remote area, so essentially there's not a lot of ambient light, so the stars are just insane. So I go to bed, I'm pretty knackered from rowing because I haven't rowed for years. Probably should get on a rowing machine more often. And I wake up next morning, thought I'm gonna have a go at fixing this motor. I go down, I pull the carburetor apart, I strip the carby, I soak it in fuel, I clean it, you know, and that probably did some good. And then I decided to have a look at the spark plug. I pulled the spark plug out. It had a tiny little speck of metal or something in it, or carbon build-up, so therefore there was no spark. So I give it a bit of a clean with some 100 grit sandpaper, give it a bit of a soak in some petrol, put it back in, bang, worked a treat. I should have known better. In fact, I did try to take the spark plug off here on the boat with a shifting spanner, but that just wasn't good enough. So I have got a socket here on board in my toolkit, and next time I'll know. If it's not sparking, it's a spark plug. It's that freaking simple. You'd think I'd know. I mean, that's just one of the most basic things on any spark plug driven device, is to check the spark. And obviously there was no spark, there was no fuel getting through, and obviously, so I learned a lesson. 2 days later, I'm back. I just couldn't face the boat yesterday. I thought, my God, the day I had yesterday, just trying to get this bastard started. I would have wasted half a day trying to get it started. Anyway, so I'm back on the boat, but while I was here, I was able to get our wind meter running through the transducer. I was also able to wire up our camera and our TV booster. I put a TV aerial up on the top of the mast, and it has a powered booster that runs into our electrical compartment through all the wiring. So just about all the wiring now in the electrical compartment is done from the mast. It took me a while to work out all the lights and everything because a lot of them weren't labelled. So what's going on in here is pretty much everything I need to do now is done, except for crimping the RJ45 cable for the radar. I've actually got or in the field repair kit for an RJ45 clip from Garmin to plug into our network port expander, which I bought. So I've got the port expander here. It actually allows me to connect things like the camera, multiple MFDs, everything into its own network expander. Allows me to connect multiple MFDs, sounders, cameras, radar, all into this, which is actually far quicker than the NMEA network. The only thing will be is that this has to live in the electrical compartment. I want it to stay in a nice sort of waterproof environment. I don't want to put it up near the helm. So that means I'm going to have to run an RJ45 cable from the back of the MFD all the way down along here, back up into the electrical compartment, then plug into that. And then the radar and the camera will plug into that as well. Really a sensational product, this, and great thing about having all Garmin equipment is everything's talking to each other. There's no adapters needed, there's no configuration required. You just plug it into the NMEA and the network port expander. Everything talks to itself. I can add another MFD on the nav station over there. We're not going to use it as a nav station, it's more like a desk. Gone with a complete Garmin suite, and that was because Zach was able to get it for me at a great price. With the Active Captain app, I can now update the whole system just with my phone. So incredible stuff.